A Thousand Faces Covering the Moon. Chapter 1, Born in the World of Sweet Texts. Her name is Mu Angken, and in every Tianwen world, she is the most inconspicuous villain. No matter what story she is in, her presence is always designed as a background character who cannot fall in love with the protagonist, always stopping at the edge of the story, as if destined to be a dispensable character only. Whenever a sweet plot emerges, she is like a doomed villain. Her beauty is outstanding, and no one can match it, but she will never be happy. No matter how hard she tries and how she gives, love always misses her. Every birth of love is like an arrangement of the plot, and it has nothing to do with her existence. She used to be a greedy and money-worshipping fiancé, but she was destined to become the smart and scheming fiancé, and was finally abandoned by her beloved fiancé. She was also an arrogant black-hearted princess, who would do anything for power and wealth, but was betrayed by her relatives and courtiers at the last moment. She was also the daughter of the domineering President Wenli, who was natural in appearance but ruthless, and was finally betrayed in a family dispute and reduced to the smoke of history. The ending of every world is like this. Her beauty and intelligence have never brought her a trace of love, but every time she has excessive extravagance and scheming, in exchange for loneliness and defeat. She does not obey the arrangements of these worlds, and she does not want to be just cannon fodder forever. Such a life made her feel endless remorse and anger in her heart. But how could she rebel against the rules of the world? She is nothing more than a time traveler, a doll of destiny from a different world. Chapter 2, Outright Expulsion. Finally, when she could not bear the countless rebirths and deaths, and could not bear to be forced to be a villain again and again, the consciousness of the world made a decision. She was banished. Mu Angken, you have violated the rules of the world. The system's voice sounded coldly, with an unquestionable tone. You will be sent to various worlds to fulfill your mission. In every world, you will be the doomed character until you understand why you are doomed to love. Mu Angken felt powerless. She wanted to resist, but no matter how hard she tried, she was ruthlessly sent to the next world in the end. Her soul has traveled through countless worlds, each set as she has experienced, and she is always the beautiful but ruthless woman. Each new world repeats her failures, and her fate is arranged to the death. No matter how much she longs for a true love, it is still out of reach. In the world of buying stocks, she is the greedy fiancé, who is only for the family's wealth and status, ignoring her fiancé's sincerity. After all, her greed led to a financial turmoil, and her fiancé chose to leave, and she had to spend her life in solitude. In the world of Sweet Petwen, she is the princess who is known for her beauty, arrogant, and has no scruples to use the men around her to achieve her own goals. She didn't even think about what true love was, and in the end she became a pawn in the hands of her father, being used and banished. In the world of the domineering President Wen, she is the beautiful and ruthless daughter, who is always scheming and good at controlling men's hearts when she gains fame and fortune. But her heart couldn't really love people after all, and she was finally forced by power and money, which made her fall into deep despair. Countless rebirths, each time it seems like a ruthless arrangement of fate, and she is just a lonely character in it. Chapter 3, The Lonely Piercing. However, this time, when Mu Angken woke up again, she found herself in a completely strange world. She was standing in an old palace, surrounded by lush flowers and trees, and in front of her was a splendid palace. This was not the modern world she was familiar with, but an ancient world of palace intrigue and intriguery. This time, she is no longer the black-hearted princess, nor is she the daughter-in-law. She finds herself once again in another story, but this time, she seems to be able to feel something different. In this world, she is not the ruthless woman, but a county lord named Yun Wike. Her status is noble, but she is not as ruthless as she used to be. Although she still has boundless beauty, she has unprecedented contradictions and struggles in her heart. She no longer pursued fame and power as unscrupulously as she had in the past, but began to question whether she could really get out of that path that was destined to be lonely. In this world, Mu Angken decided not to repeat the mistakes of the past. She no longer wants to be the cold villain, but hopes to change her fate with a new look, and to pursue the love and sincerity she once missed. Chapter 4, A Twist of Fate. As time passed, Yun Wike's state of mind began to change quietly. She found that the people of this world were not as hypocritical as she had seen, and that the love in the court, although mostly an exchange of power and interests, still had sincere feelings. She met a young man named Xiaomuchen, who was an inconspicuous scholar in the palace, but had extremely clear eyes. Xiaomuchen and her did not fall in love at first sight, but gradually got to know each other through long-term communication and became a part of each other's lives. His respect and sincerity for her made her heart no longer so cold. She began to realize that love is not a game of power schemes, and it does not need to go through countless betrayals and injuries. However, when she decides to let go of the past and accept this hard-won relationship, she realizes that the world is not as simple as she thinks. The rules of fate are still running quietly behind the scenes, and everything that happened to her past still pushes her to a new crisis. Chapter 5, The ending choice. This time, Mu Anken is no longer the helpless character. She no longer pursues temporary beauty, but chooses to face her inner struggles and choices. Should she continue this gamble of fate, or choose to let go and pursue her true love? In this moment, she made her choice. Regardless of the outcome, she decided to embrace this love and rewrite her destiny. And this time, maybe she can finally get rid of that doomed role and usher in her own happiness. Chapter 6, Challenges and Decisions. Mu Anken stood on the corridor of the palace and stared at Xiaomuchen in front of him. He is no longer the simple scholar she remembers, but a man who has experienced hardships and has an infinite story in his heart. The eyes of the two intertwined, as if the past years had dissipated, and he and her in front of them were the real beginning. However, under the haze of this court, behind all the seemingly calm, there are hidden waves. The power struggles in the court were still brutal, the important ministers of the court were competing for each other, and the nobles in high positions were unlikely to allow anyone who threatened their interests to exist. Mu Anken couldn't ignore these crises, after all, she had personally experienced countless betrayals and conspiracies. Xiaomuchen suddenly spoke, breaking the silence. Lord Yun, can you really get rid of the shadow of the past? Do you think such a court can really give you stability and happiness? Mu Anken took a deep breath, his eyes were deep, and countless thoughts were intertwined in his heart. She knew that this moment, whether she chose to stay or leave, would be a big decision that would affect everything in the future. I used to be the ruthless woman, both to myself and to others. Her tone was low, but now, I know, love is no longer just a game of chess. Love is never bought by scheming. A glint flashed in Xiaomuchen's eyes, as if he heard the determination in her words. He smiled lightly, didn't say much, just reached out and handed her a golden hairpin. This is what I did for you. He said softly, his tone full of sincere emotion. Mu Anken took the hairpin, and a warm current suddenly surged in his heart. She looked at the fine work on the hairpin, which was delicate she had never seen before, as if every trace of it was telling of his cherishment of her. What do you want to do? She asked, with a hint of uncertainty in her tone. Walk with you this way. Xiaomuchen's eyes had a firmness and tenderness that he had never seen before. Chapter 7, The Hidden Truth. However, when she is ready to let go of the past and start anew, fate does not intend to let her go easily. Her past, like an invisible shackle, trapped her tightly. The dark forces in the palace, as well as the fiancé she forgot about, are waiting for her. One day, Mu Anken received an anonymous letter, which read: You think you can escape fate? You're going to be the doomed character, and no matter how hard you struggle, the end result will be the same. At the end of the letter, a familiar jade pendant was attached. It was a token of love given to her by her former fiancé, and the love that had been turned into a ruthless reminder had now turned into a reminder. Her heart sank. Was it a challenge to her fate, or a reminder of the unresolved shadows of her past? At this time, she had to face a question: is all this arrangement the arrangement of fate, or is there some invisible force behind every world she has experienced? Can she really break free from the shadow of the past and pursue her true happiness? Chapter 8, Into the Mystery. Mu Anken knows that if she doesn't unravel all this, she will never be able to get rid of the shadow of the past. She decides to go deep into the palace to find more clues and solve the mysteries that lurk in the shadows. One night, she snuck into the forbidden place of the palace, a place she had never heard of before, and only a handful of powerful people could enter. It hides the secrets of the imperial court and the truth of her past fate. In the Forbidden Land, she met her fiancé, Chen Moyan, who she once loved deeply. He was no longer the mild-mannered young man she remembered, but had become colder and more silent, with a deep sadness and despair in his eyes. You're here. When Chen Moyan saw her, his tone was flat, but with an imperceptible pain. I'm here to ask why our fate is so unfair. Mu Anken's tone was firm. I no longer want to be the woman who can only secretly control the fate of others behind her back. I just want to know, why can't I get a sincere love? Chen Moyan was silent for a moment, and suddenly whispered, do you think your fate is just accidental? Every story, every ending, has a greater force behind it. Everything you've been through is in a huge plan, and you're just a pawn in it. Mu Anken was stunned, never thinking that he was just a pawn in fate. All her struggles seemed to have become part of someone else's layout. So, who designed all this arrangement? She asked. The arbiter of fate. Chen Mo's tone was cold. It determines everyone's end. No matter how hard you struggle, you will eventually return to its control. Mu Anken felt a cold fear spread throughout his body. Could it be that she really can't escape the arrangement of fate? Has every choice she made already been designed? Chapter 9, The Final Choice. After the dialogue with Chen Moyan, Mu Anken realized more clearly the terrible fate he was facing. Behind all this, there is some invisible force pushing her, so that no matter how hard she tries, she still can't escape from that doomed role in the end. However, Mu Anken did not give up. She knew that even if fate was merciless, she would no longer be the ruthless woman, no longer the one who lost herself for power and fame. She decided that, no matter what, she would try to break this framework, to find the love that truly belonged to her, and to choose her own path. She returned to the palace and walked into Xiaomuchen's study, where she saw him reading in a corner with his head bowed. She walked over, gently put down the jade pendant in her hand, and said in a soft tone, Mu Chen, I have decided, no matter what my fate is, I will go my own way and choose the future that belongs to me. Xiaomuchen raised his head and saw the firmness in her eyes, and his heart moved slightly. He walked over to her with a smile and reached out to gently take her hand. Then, I'll walk with you. He whispered. The two looked at each other and smiled, no more confusion and fear in their hearts. No matter what the future holds, they will face it together and rewrite their destiny. Epilogue, the true meaning of love. In this ancient palace, Mu Anken finally found his own love and decided that he was no longer the doomed character. No matter what fate arranges, she is no longer the lost woman. She learned how to truly love and accept that sincere emotion. Love is never the arrangement of fate, but the path you choose. And her path finally has a bright future.